Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, December 16th, 2024, and currently I have no drones flying over my house, so I'm happy about that. I hope you all have had a good week. I know that I put out the video this past or Friday, doing more of the block sanding and body work, and trying to get the Cobra Jet ready for paint. And I know that video is pretty long, but there's a lot of detail in there, and I try to show people how to do these things. I have a friend who owns a restoration shop, and he has trouble getting workers that will follow the directions or understand the process of block sanding. And so he's talked about it with me. Even he's like, I can't find people that know how to do this stuff. And I said, well, I try to show that in my videos, and he knows about my videos and everything. I try to show that in my videos so that people will learn how to do this. And that's the thing about body work itself, is it's not that complicated, but it's also not necessarily that easy. A lot of people don't want to put the time into it, and they would rather farm it out to somebody else, which I get, or they'll try to do it quick, and then when I go to a car show or an event where there's multiple cars around, and you see all these friendly cars, meaning that they're all wavy, they're all waving at you when you walk by. It's a friendly car, and it's a fixation I guess I have with trying to make the car as straight and as smooth as possible. At the end of it all, once you get your paint on there, you're done. There is nothing else that you can do. In fact, there was a situation I saw recently with a post on Facebook. A guy had made a video. He has a 68 something. I don't know if it's a coupe. I assume it was. And he was saying, what can I do to adjust this door? And he was showing the gap at the front of the door and the back of the door, and then the transition from the quarter panel to the door at the bottom, that much of it. And the door was flat and the body was curved in, and it had this huge gap in there. And he says, how can I adjust my door? And this was after it was painted. This was after he had paid somebody to do the body work and paint this thing. And he's like, well, how can I adjust it? And I sent a video. I said, you can't. Basically, the fix is you do it before it ever gets to paint. And unfortunately, he probably, I don't know what he paid somebody to paint this car, but it's just not looking good. And he talked about it, I think on the other side of the car, there was so much Bondo on the body that he was scared to shut the door, in that it would hit it and knock it off. I mean, it just sounded really, really bad. So anyway, block sanding, yeah. Nobody comes to my block sanding parties. Okay, so that's enough of that. I guess we can talk more about stuff like that later. We're going to see who's here tonight and try to have a good discussion. For anybody who's new to the live stream, I try to talk about classic cars, meaning in my bracket of time is 55-ish to about 79, 80, 81. Somewhere in that range, before the computer age and fuel injection stuff and throttle body injection, all that stuff came along. I'm more old school, so and I do mostly everything on Mustangs at this point. So, but that doesn't mean it can't relate to other vehicles. So when we have these discussions, we try to bring up subject matter that may be valuable to other people, or if somebody's having a problem, we try to resolve that problem through this conversation. And we've helped out quite a few people doing this and resolve some issues. So let's see who's here tonight and get started with the regular conversation. So first in tonight is Rick Gain. Rainy, miserable day in New Jersey, and for me it was a bad day. I could use some cheering up. Let's have some good car talk. That sounds great. Whoops. Yeah, there's the bell. That sounds great, Rick. Sorry you had a bad day. Terry Keithley, evening all. And Barry, please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry, Terry, Betty, and the cats. That sounds good. Glad to hear Terry and Betty and the cats. Ed Cucurella. Hello, all. Hello, Ed. And I think Ed is on the West Coast, I believe, if I remember correctly. So we get people from all over the place on here. Sometimes we get people from others overseas and everything. So it's really, really kind of cool. Robert, the Infernal Craftsman, evening all. Miserable weather here. 78 and sticky, humid, and everything, I guess, soaking wet. Should be cooler and nicer tomorrow. I don't like sticky, soaking wet, but I like 78. But of course, you're in Texas, so I understand it's a bit different. Troy Justit, good evening from coastal Georgia. I hope everyone is doing good. It's 66 here and drone free. Oh, awesome. That's a good sign. That is pretty crazy, whatever's going on with all this stuff right now. I keep seeing it on the news. People, the government doesn't know what's going on, supposedly, right? Supposedly. There's speculation of where these things are coming from and what they're doing here. And there's people shooting at them now. And it's all just, it's like, who knows? Who really knows? They all try to keep their secrets, right? But let's hope it doesn't turn into anything dramatic. We don't need that. Hindsight 6-7, Roger. Greetings from next door. Glad you're here, Raj. Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. It's our first Dave sighting, I believe. Evening, Dave. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit. Good evening from Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here, Jerry. He says, good evening to all. He missed the all, but it's there in the next line. Glad you're here, Jerry. And the other Jerry, Lilina DeQuina. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. Looking forward to the new bundle of joy that Robert made room for in the garage. Hope y'all have a good car chat. Well, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, I heard you were getting a new vehicle. And I know Robert's happy to take everything out of the house garage and put it in his shop. He likes that. It makes everything feel cozy in there. David, the bowler hat guy. Good evening, all. Hey there, Barry. Hey, David. Glad you're here. Bob Shoemaker. Good evening from Oklahoma. Rather have been outside doing other things than playing with the wife's room furniture moving. Yeah, amen to that. I don't want to be moving furniture either. I'd rather be outside. Richard Vogel, good evening from wet Long Island. Drones have been spotted here also. That's crazy. I mean, I really don't know what's going on with all that. It just doesn't make any sense that somebody is, that they're saying they don't know. Whenever you have supposedly the FBI and government agencies saying, we don't know where they're coming from, we don't know what they're doing up there, and all this stuff. It's crazy. I mean, it really is. But glad you're here, Richard. Rusty's Restoration, hello, Barry, and all from Southern Indiana. Enjoyed the last video. Thumbs up. Thank you, Rusty. Yeah, that's, like I said, it's a tedious thing to do, block sanding and body filler, but the end results show themselves. When you get paint on a car and you don't see anything that stands out, to me, that's the mark. When somebody, they look at something and they say something to the effect of, I don't see any body work. Did you do something to this car, right? That is a little feather in the cap. It's like, you can't tell what's been done, because a lot of people can't. But if somebody makes that a point and says, I don't see where there's this or that or the other, was this worked? And I tell them, yeah, this was repaired, that was repaired. So it all pays off in the end. Steve Reed, hello, Barry and everyone. Hope everyone's doing great. Lots of rain here. Give Barry a big thumbs up for the great work he's doing. Thank you, Steve. Paducah, Kentucky. David Sweatman, good evening, all. Missed last Monday, but made it home in time today. Awesome. That's the second Dave, I believe. Nandu, good evening, all. Hope you're doing good. I haven't seen Nandu in a while, or I haven't seen your name in a while, so I'm glad you're here. I think you're up in Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. Glad you're here. Oh, Jeff Reynolds. There you go. Hello, Barry and everyone. Sorry to have been missing a while. And Jeff is here from the UK. I know it's more defined than that, but Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad you're here. Terry Keithley says, 55 years, I've block sanded. You make the coffee, I'll bring the gobs. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awesome. EJ McConaughey. Hey, Barry. Hey, everyone. Hey, EJ. Glad you're here. Jerry says, I have been able to meet the fender aprons to the firewall and have small gap at the top of the aprons, which suggests the firewall may be a problem. Yeah, it may be. It may be, but it may not be something too dramatic. You may be able to, depending on how big the spacing is. You know, I have had to reshape aprons before to get them to make contact with the firewall. So I can't say that's not the thing to do or it's not an option, but it might be further ahead than trying to replace the firewall again or something along those lines. So just look at it and see what, see what works out. Sam Goodwin, hello from Northeast Georgia. Hello, Sam. Welcome. Glad you're here. Jerry's saying suggestions. Yeah, talking about the aprons. Yeah, I've had to re-bend the flange on those aprons sometimes, just to make them kind of stretch just a little to make contact with that firewall. The other alternative, depending on how bad it is, again, rather than cutting out a new firewall, you may end up bumping it out a little bit with a block of wood. I know that sounds rudimentary and maybe not exactly what you want to hear, but sometimes just a little bit will make that shift an eighth of an inch, 3/16. Maybe that'll be enough to help. I don't know, but that's just a thought. Jeff Reynolds says, Barry, it's true. Your New Jersey drones are big news here in the UK. Yeah. Well, and they're starting to show up all over the place now, apparently. So, yeah. Troy just said, Barry, I forgot to mention, Fly Eagles Fly. Are you talking about the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I don't want to have to come over there and mess you up. I'm not going to give you a bell, Troy. I don't know if you're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles or something else, but I'm going to skip over that now. Tony, that's a different name. Tony Fadiga. I'm going to say Fadiga. How about that? Barry, you would probably cry at the paint job and bodywork I did. Got the headliner in, working on all the windows now. Your videos help so much. Thank you and Merry Christmas. Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad they helped. And I wouldn't say I would cry over a paint job, but I mean, I will say this. If I'm looking at somebody's car, I don't try to sit there and go, hey, you messed this up. You messed that up. I don't want to do that. If they do a car and they're happy with it, I'm okay with it, but if I'm looking at it with somebody else who knows my taste and my my angle on things, I'm going to probably say, hey, did you see that? Like if Roger's with me, did you see that car over there? You could put your whole hand through the fender gap, So anyway, I'm not going to go to the owner and say, hey man, you should have done this. So, Nandu, have been busy and I'm unable to make the live stream, but watch afterwards. Okay. Well, that's awesome too. That's cool. Troy says, I had to make a new flange end to get mine to fit, but I don't have a gap now. So there's a thought too, Jerry. Troy had to actually make a new flange, to take care of that gap. So I'm just saying that may be an option as well. Dave Tyson, what happened to your Steelers? I don't know. I really don't. I didn't get to watch the game because I'm not going to pay to watch any NFL game ever. I might go to a game, but I'm not going to pay for that. Growing up, we could watch those games on TV all the time without an issue. And now they want to make you pay for this stuff. So I haven't seen the game. I don't know exactly what happened. But, yeah. Sometimes you need to lose a game because it helps you figure out you did something, find another approach. Like, and I think the only thing I know for sure was Pickens wasn't playing, so they didn't have their star receiver. So that's probably part of it. So that's all I can say about that. Jerry says, I had a suggestion from another to use screws to pull the firewall to meet the aprons. The gap is about a finger width out. That's not too bad, I guess. I mean, my finger probably a little less than a half inch. I don't know if that's equivalent. So it depends on what you want to have at the end of it. So as I've said before, whenever you put everything in place, even if it's clamped and screwed and whatever, and you hang the sheet metal, if all the sheet metal lines up and you're okay with what you have, then yes, resolve that gap issue. If it's good on one side and you've got a problem on the other, I don't know that I want to take everything and cut all those spot welds back out and redo all that stuff if it would be worth it. If you can, like Troy was saying, he had to cut and make a new flange and stretch it to meet the firewall. That may be what ends up happening. I know you don't want to shortcut anything, but you also have to look at how deep do you really want to get into it. Because once you start digging that hole, it takes a while to fill it back in. So just suggestions there. Sam Goodwin, opinions on how to prepare EDP coating panels for paint. Well, I can tell you this. If I'm painting a car, on the exterior, anywhere that it's got EDP coating, I'm stripping it off. I'm taking it all off. Whether I'm sanding it or whatever. I'm not going to leave any EDP coating on anymore. I used to leave it, and there's people that do. Like if I was doing a collision job and putting on a new front fender on a Honda or something, I would just scuff it and shoot it, with primer. But a classic car that I'm putting, some valuable paint on and trying to make it really nice, I don't want to risk that paint having a problem later. So I've heard issues in the past, depending on the quality of the EDP coating as well. Some people have suggested you take some lacquer thinner and rub on that and see if it comes loose. And if it doesn't, scuff it and prime it. Some have said that. And I've done that in the past too. But as I've progressed down my path of restoration type stuff, I don't want to trust that EDP coating at all. There's instances where people have taken it off and they've actually found rust underneath. And I'm not saying it's going to be every panel, but is it worth it to leave it there and have a chance that it's going to rust and bubble back out and ruin that paint job you put on it? If I'm doing the inside of a panel, quarter panel or a fender, something like that, or maybe with the doors, I will leave that coating on there. I will scuff it, prime it, and then undercoat it later and make sure it's all just airtight. But the exterior is where it's going to get all the weathering and that sort of thing. So I don't like to leave it. So I'll strip it down. Even like the weld through primer that Dynacorn puts on all their stuff, I strip all that off. I found rust under it. I don't want to have anything there. I've actually found rust under that and just cleaned it all off and then put on epoxy and work my way out from there. So good question. Roger, it is a blessing and a curse to learn bodywork critique from Barry. Once you learn to see it, you can't not see it. Yeah, that's, yeah. I get that from a lot of people, actually, that have been with me, and they've asked my opinion. What do you think of this? Or how's that look? And I don't know if there's, obviously I've been doing this for quite some time. I have, my own critique of myself where I will find something and I have to fix it. I can't leave it sit. I can't just let it go. And as I mentioned in my last video, most of everything I can sense with my fingers. I can feel it, and if I can feel any kind of waviness with my fingers, it's got to be fixed. Visually, when I'm sanding stuff out and I can make it kind of, the body filler kind of look cloudy, as I say, misty, like it's disappearing, I feel pretty good about that. But yeah, if I look at a car now and I see it's been, I've done work for people on their personal cars, and I see like 6 different colors of silver. And I've taken those like vision tests. This may sound a little weird. They have these vision tests, and it says how many colors do you see in this bar graph. It's like blah blah blah. And they said the average person will see like 38 or 37 colors or something, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, it's 47, whatever. I can see every one of those colors, and I don't know if most people don't have that much color vision. I don't know, but it stands out to me pretty good when I see something wrong. Troy, they broadcasted the Eagles-Steelers game here on the local Fox channel, but I'm with you. I'm not paying to watch one game. Yeah, they didn't broadcast it here in Atlanta. Even though they probably have, well, we already know they have more fans, Steelers fans here than Falcons fans. I've been to a Falcons game, and it may as well just be a Steelers game because 3/4 of the event is filled with Steelers fans. But that's the only chance you get to see them. Jerry, I have not welded anything at this point. I need the fit fenders to see the alignment. Yes, by all means, get everything on there. Get the fenders attached. Look at your door gaps. Look at all those gaps because, as I said before, you can't change much on the outside. You have to change it on the inside. So I always try to make sure the aprons, everything is aligned and proper. And then if the fenders sit nice on them, I can just leave them and run from there, or run forward from that point. So, Mercury Man, Garage and Outdoors. Good evening, Barry. Do you still use Windex to clean panels prior to painting? I do, actually. I'll use Windex. Like if I have a panel that's all dusty, I'll spray it down with Windex, wipe it down, blow it off. I make sure I blow that thing out, make sure it's all evaporated out of there, and then I will wipe it down one more time with wax and grease remover. Windex does a great job. I've known many people that have used Windex and haven't had any issues with it. I haven't had any issues with it, but I use that and then wax and grease just to make sure that there's nothing there. And then occasionally, not always, but occasionally I will use a tack cloth. I don't often use it like with primer because primer doesn't really make much difference when you try to tack off something. But that's pretty much my process. Good question. Richard, I was really impressed with your work on Slither's deck lid. Yeah, it turned out really good. And as I try to address in that video, whenever you're block sanding, crisscross, obviously. You have to crisscross the pattern. You can't just dig. You can't just stay in one plane and just hope for the best. You have to follow the contour of whatever you're working on. And also, little tidbits of information when I was doing the quarter panel and I was using that long block, I talked about it that I'm not pushing on the back edge of the block. It was overhanging the quarter panel. It had that line. I was pushing on the front edge. I'm kind of hard to visualize with my hands. I was pushing on the front edge that was on the quarter panel and putting pressure there. People make a lot of mistakes when it comes to a corner or a body line, and they'll try to they'll end up having the block come over like a body line, and then they take their hand and just kind of put pressure on it, and it just eats away the body filler. And you just can't. I mean, it's hard to say don't do that, but that's the reality of it. You have to work with the solid part of whatever you're trying to work on. So if I've got good metal somewhere, I'm going to try to just keep pressure on that metal and let the block kind of do the work that I need to have done. will say this: when we had the body shop and we were trying to train people, the best person I ever had listen to me and do what I said was my daughter. And she was, I don't know, 12 or 13 at the time. And as I'm telling her what to do, I said, and I told her exactly. I said, when you start sanding, do this crisscross like I was saying, and then when you see the body filler change color from green to whatever the primer is, just stop. Don't go any further. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, I got to keep sanding. I got to keep sanding. It's not right. It's not right. The reality is you're not going to sand off metal. You're not going to, you can sand all the way through the paint, and then you're, making shiny metal. You're not getting anywhere. You're just creating more problems. So when you see that color change, stop. Step back, evaluate, add more filler, and work that piece. So anyway, it did turn out really nice, and I'm happy with it. And I'm looking forward to getting primer back on that part of the car. I think it's going to look really good with primer on it. So that'll be coming soon. Dave Conville, good evening all. Evening, Dave. Dave is enjoying the drones in New Jersey as well, from what I understand. I really don't know what's what's going on with all that stuff. And I don't know where Rick Stevenson is, but I'm going to have some coffee anyway. I had to break out my 10th Mountain mug because the Steelers lost, and I'm not gonna sit here and say the Steelers, blah, 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 whatever. Oh, speaking of coffee, I got to show you this. This popped up on Instagram, and I saw this, and I was like, that is a really cool idea. So check this out. This is a coffee mug that was advertised on there, and I'm going to show you this because whoever thought of this, brilliant. Look at this. Look at that. That is a coffee mug. Genius. Here it is with the lid off. That is brilliant. And now if you could get that with typically like the orange, for like a Fram filter, or blue for the AC Delco, that would be even better. But man, that's brilliant. That is fantastic. I like that a lot. Okay. Let's back up. Let's see here. So, Esteban Jones, on your 68 headliner install, how did you deal with the back bottom portion of the sail panel, that area that would be essentially in under the package tray? I didn't see that you had finished it. I think there should be a set of, if I remember correctly, there's a set of like teeth that hooks onto, if I remember. I think when you stretch it, it actually, there's a set of like teeth, like saw teeth, that it catches into, and then the package tray just butts up over it, if I remember correctly. I'm sure somebody else has done it and can reinforce that, but that's what I remember. And I know I've done it on other cars like that. And I don't know if it answers your question or not, but that's what I remember. So, good question. Maybe we'll have some other input on that. Dave Moeller. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dave. That's like the fourth Dave. Glad you're here. And Troy says, I love that coffee cup. I need one. Yeah. I think they were selling these. I don't know if I still have where it was at. You could probably find it. It was on Instagram, I think. But I think they were selling it for $35. So that's pretty pricey for that. But it would be kind of cool to have a logo on it. Make it look like, again, a Fram or something like that. And Robert says, yes, there are triangle-shaped teeth punched out that hold the headliner in place. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like saw, like some sort of saw look to it. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know what else to reference from that standpoint. But that's what I remember as well. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've done that. In fact, here's the funny thing. It turns out that I bought that Mustang, what was it, December either 11th or 12th of 2012. That's when I bought Jade. I had some pictures pop up on my Facebook page, and I was like, you know what, that was interesting, because there was well, I can email that. We can take a look at it, because I've been in contact, as I said before, with the original owner, or not the original owner, the second owner of Jade, and that guy has sent me pictures of the car with the black vinyl top that was original to it, and the pictures of him as a young guy driving that car around, and it was pretty cool to see those pictures, because when I got it, and I'll post this picture up in just a minute, when I got it, it did not have the black vinyl top on it anymore. The guy somebody else had ripped it off, and I'm sure. I mean, I know there was some rust under it, so it was worth taking off. And it also had those oddball quarter panels. So here's a picture of Jade from like the first look at it when I pushed it into the garage, and you could see the headlights. The guy had put in these 2005 grill. 2005 Mustang grill in it, and it had like that Boss 429 hood scoop on it, but the hood that came with it was gone. It had a different deck lid on it, and the roof was stripped. But if you look in my garage, it's kind of fun to look at these old pictures. There's up above on the lift is the black 68 Camaro that I had bought and redid the quarters and everything on it. And I'd forgotten that car had a 454 in it when I got it, and I sold that engine separate, and then finished the car and sold it as well. I'd kind of forgotten about that, something about that Camaro. Let's see. Dave Tyson says on the headliner, carpet tack strip is basically what it is. Yes. Thank you, Dave. Rusty says coffee cup with Joe Daddy's Garage. Yeah, that would be, if I could figure out how to make that happen, I might make it available. But like I said, they're charging $35 for this thing, and I don't remember. It was just a random thing that it popped up on like Instagram. So Jerry says, but not for the package tray. No, the package tray does not have the strips to hold it. No, just the headliner material on the sides. I did a video on the package tray too, and I don't remember exactly what I even did to put that in place. I've talked about this with some other people, like when I did the 70 Mustang, which the 70 sport roof fastback that we did at the body shop years ago, and I was watching those videos because I condensed them all together and made one long video covering that whole car, or what we did to that car. And I'm watching the videos and I'm like, I don't remember doing that. So a lot of the stuff, I do it and I just get it, I just make it happen, and then I may not remember exactly what I did. Of course, now if it's sheet metal or something like that, that's different. But these other things, like I said, that 70, I was like, oh, I did the floor pans? I don't remember doing the floor pans, but I did. So anyway. EJ says, link for the mug. I don't have a link for the mug, and I apologize for that. Like I said, it popped up on Instagram. You could probably Google search it, and it would come up somewhere. But I did not pay attention to the to where it was listed. I don't remember the name of the place, so sorry. Tony Fadiga, on my 66 teether in front of the package tray, under the tray there were 2 tabs. I bent over to hold it down with glue. Probably not correct. Okay. But if it worked, that's okay too. David Sweatman, if they put Fram on it, no one would buy it. Good point. But it would be colorful. You can make it orange. Troy says they do make those cups in orange, but they're right. They're $35. I sent a pic. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I see it now. Okay. I don't know if I'll put that up or not. And he says for the mugs, search for Clutch coffee mugs. Yes. Thank you, Troy. Very helpful. David, the bowler hat guy. Wow, 454 real tire burner. Yes, I've had some real tire burners, engines in this garage over the years. Um, Several years back, I did some trading. I traded my '55 Chevy for two Bantam Roadster drag cars. One of those had a 440 in it, and the other one came with 2 engines, a 427 and a 454, I believe. And I didn't have a use for them, but I made a trade, and then I resold them, and there was a lot of trading going on, a lot of horse trading and buying and selling, because the one car, Roger and I actually took it out to Texas and dropped it off. And it had no engine or I don't think a transmission in it, but the guy was going to make what they call a cackle car, I guess, to where you put some engine in it with a big lopey cam and just let it go to car shows and sit there and pop, 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 make all kinds of noise. So he and I took that car out to Texas, and then the other one I took it up to South Carolina. I sold it and traded. It was both together. I traded for a 383 stroker engine. So I ended up having that, and then I sold the 427, and I sold the 454, and I sold the 383 stroker. Wheel and deal. It's what you have to do. It's how things work. So Randall Heath is checking in. Hey, from Mountain Green, Utah. Glad you're here, Randall. And Troy again saying, clutch coffee mugs. Okay. Esteban James, this is me again. No, the question did not get answered. On the 66 and on your 68, the teeth are on the forward part of the bottom of the sail panel, not up by the package tray. No teeth there. Okay. I can't bring it to my mind at the moment to give you a good answer on that. So I don't have a good answer, and I apologize for that. I don't know. I can't put it together in my head at the moment. So if I didn't show it, I feel like I probably would have shown it, but I guess it is tricky to get the camera in there. So I don't know for sure. So I don't have an answer. Sorry. Maybe somebody else can give some more insight on it. Richard, how do you heat the garage when you do your painting? That is the problem. That's why I can't paint right now. The only thing I have in here is my mini split. And while it will heat the garage to a nice, comfortable 70 degrees, I can't paint that way. When you paint a car, the two most important things are heat and airflow. And in a shop like mine, you can't have both. You have to have airflow to move material out, which helps the paint dry. Heat will also help the paint dry, but in my case, I can't have both. So if I have the fans running and to make airflow, I have to have air coming into the shop somewhere, like this front door, or maybe this big door. I might open it up a little bit and let air come in on underneath. But the that air is moving rapidly through the paint booth, so the heater's running, and it's trying to do what it can, but it's not going to be enough. So you got to have temperatures to make everything work. Minimum 70, better off about 75 degrees. Otherwise, you end up with runs, or you could have all kinds of weird stuff happen to the paint. And so I don't even take that chance. I can't make enough heat in here and have the airflow, going through. So at this point, I just do what I can and try to get everything in primer, so that when the weather does get better, because if you go back, the when I did the Bronco, I think I did that. Did I do that this year? I think I did the Bronco this year. I think. Time flies. I don't know. But I painted the Bronco because I had done the prep work for it, and I had agreed to do that job, but I was able to paint it, I think, in March or something, March or April, if I remember correctly. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to finish paint work on the Cobra Jet. That's been my dilemma at the moment. The weather's got to be good, or I can't do any paint. Oh, speaking of, since you brought that up, I'm going to show you something else. This is a gun, a paint gun, and again, I'm not spending $1,000 on a paint gun, and I haven't tried this yet. Okay, this I usually use HVLP guns, and this is not an HVLP. I've seen this on a few different sites, a few different ads. I haven't even opened this thing up yet. And I thought it was cheap enough that I'm going to give it a try. This is an LVLP paint gun. Low volume, low pressure. And this is the Drizzle D1, as it's called. There's all kinds of stuff in here, I guess. Let me open this up. But I wanted to give it a shot because obviously it takes a lot of paint or materials to do this kind of work, and maybe this will help save on some material. I don't know, but I have seen the work done with these, and it looked really good. So I'm willing to give it a shot. And I didn't pay much for this gun, to be honest. This is Infocraft, or Innocraft, INOKRAFT. But I have not opened this yet. I'm just telling you. Pull this thing out of the case. Piece of foam here. Pretty nice looking little gun. Pretty nice looking gun. It's got some decent feeling knobs on it, But it came with the gun itself. Well, it's got a heavy spring on it. It's got a heavy pull. So anyway, I'll probably be playing with this later. It does come with a paint cup. I know there's some other stuff in here. I don't know what all's in here. There's a big plastic case. It's a surprise. Oh, wow. Oh, so it comes with it's got different heads, different tips. So I will try to do something with this later, and just see how it performs. But it wasn't even, I don't know, it wasn't even $100. But if it does decent, why not? Give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, let me set that aside. Let me go back up here. Also, Dave Tyson was asking under the glass seal. So maybe that's what part of the question is. I don't know. That part of the headliner material being under the glass, glued to the frame, the window frame. Maybe that's what we're looking at. I don't know. Jerry says on my 66 there were vampire clips. Okay. And he says I'm fighting on the airflow for painting. Yeah, airflow is critical. Dave Conville, YouTube is really heavy with the ads tonight. Anyone else seeing this, or is it somehow regional? It's probably the drones. It's probably all the drones coming in. I don't know, Dave. I apologize. Tony, I used an LVLP R500 and a 15-gallon compressor. Took forever for an all-over, but I'm pleased with the results. Okay. That's good to know. I'm going to see how this gun works. Thank you, Tony. Troy says, your video, headliner install on a classic Mustang Part 2, Jade Part 80, shows the install of the sail panel at 1450. You can see the hooks and you talk about it. Oh, well, thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. So maybe I did talk about it. I don't know. Speaking of, we watched Christmas Vacation the other day, so that's one of Eddie's lines, like, I don't know. Sam, what spray guns do you use? Primer, base, clear. Okay, I've talked about this before. I have a variety of guns. I've used some generic guns from I was ADT or something. Like it was a 3-gun spray set that I got from the paint store years ago. It was $100 for all 3 paint guns, and that was a primer gun and a top coat gun and a touch-up gun. And I've used those for off and on over the years, more for primer than anything else. And then I had bought some of those Black Widow guns from Harbor Freight, and they did okay. But I will say this gun, let me grab it real quick. This is the Pro 88, which I usually have a link to these underneath my videos. This is Master HP Pro Series. Okay. This gun, believe it or not, I used it for everything when I did the Bronco. The reason I had to use it, I have a DeVilbiss clear gun that I dropped the cap on it and I bent it. And so when I was getting ready to spray the clear on the Bronco, I couldn't use that gun. It was messed up. This gun comes with 3 different tips, 3 different needles, 1.3, a 1.4, and a 1.8. Okay. And so the 1.8 would be for serious primer laydown. I don't use the 1.8. I use the 1.4 and a 1.3. And when I'm spraying primer, if I remember correctly, it's a 1.4 for primer. You could also use either 1.4 or 1.3 for base. And I actually shot the clear and everything with this gun, all in one shot. I say one shot, all one gun. So this gun, the only flaw that I've had with it, there was something I broke. It was my fault. It was an internal plastic ring, and I broke it, and I ordered the patch kit or whatever, came with some extra parts. But this thing has been fantastic. It's got a nice trigger pull on it, and I've put in an adapter for the PPS cups. You've got your needle setting here, and then trying to remember which is which. I know there's an airflow down here on the bottom, and then your fan. That's what this is, your fan up here on top. And pretty much everything I've done in the last year has all been with this gun. Now, I still have those Black Widow guns, and I had a problem. I was trying to spray something with one of them, and apparently there was an O-ring that had failed, and so I was spraying with it, and it was like it was just doing this weird kind of pattern thing. So I had bought this gun kind of initially as a backup, but this is now pretty much my primary gun. I have this. I have a couple of ADTs, the cheapo guns. I have the two Black Widows, which I really don't even use anymore. I have the DeVilbiss clear gun, and now I have this Drizzle that I'm going to experiment with. But these are on Amazon, and if you look underneath, like I said, any of my recent videos, you'll see links to products that I use, and there's Amazon links, there's links to welders, a variety of different things. So Patreon, Instagram, all that stuff is on there. So you can look on any of those and should be able to find it, or a link to it. So good question. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to cover this stuff. Richard, I think if you subscribe to YouTube Premium, you won't see the ads. Yeah, probably so. Troy says, are you serious, Clark? Yes. We haven't had Clark Clifford on here in a while, by the way. I don't know where he's at. Save the neck for me, Clark. Sam, sorry for redundant questions. First timer, and love your videos. Not a problem. Seriously. It's always good to cover this stuff because there may be somebody else that has a similar question. So I'll just show you these other two guns that I talked about. These two guns, and I'll tell you this from my experience with the body shop and the paint store, my PPG rep. This looks like the Harbor Freight purple cheapo gun, and it's probably the same thing. These two are part of a box kit, and like this one is a 1 point. I don't even remember what it is now. This is a 1.8, and the other one is a 1.4. I didn't realize that was a 1.8. Yeah, it's a 1.8. So I've always remembered that the purple was for primer, and then the red was top coat, and in some cases clear coat. Even if I had to, but I really try not to use this for clear coat. So this gun setup, which is they still sell these, by the way. My PPG rep was telling me that these, whenever I bought them, they were $100 for these two guns and a little touch-up gun, and they had the the canisters up on top. But the body shops will buy these guns in a kit and use them for doing their collision work. Paint the whole car, and they'd use these for a year and then throw them away. That's what he told me. A lot of body shops were using these as disposable paint guns. After a year, they didn't want to use them anymore. And they'd come in and they'd buy a new kit and go back to work. But I've painted with these guns. I've painted the light blue Mustang, the Mystique Mustang, the red big. I did a big Dodge truck. I don't know if I think I have some videos on that. Painted the red Dodge truck. Lots of primer, whatever. So you don't. Honestly, I don't think you really need to spend thousands of dollars. I say this in my opinion, thousands of dollars for a paint gun. I probably wouldn't spend more than $400 or $500 on a paint gun. But people out there that are high dollar professional painters will swear by those high dollar professional guns, and I get it. But for me, I can probably do a lot of it with just cheaper guns, and then sand and buff and get pretty close to the same results that they're all getting. So anyway, Robert, I have a lot in common with Clark Griswold. Yes, I would use a chainsaw to cut the newel post. Yeah. Esteban, for Troy, as I mentioned, not talking about the teeth in part 3 finishes the headliner, but the camera clearly shows the area not finished, thus my question. I'll just glue it. Okay. Well, I apologize if it's not enough detail in there. I try to put as much into them as I can, and it may be something that I don't know. Maybe I was just at a point where I was done. It could be. It could be. But anyway, the progress on the Cobra Jet has been coming along. I still have work to do on the left front fender. Probably not going to do a video on that because it's the same as the right front fender. I will sand it out and get it all smooth. And then I need to go over the rest of the car with the dry guide coat and make sure there's no flaws anywhere. Put another coat of primer on, and it'll be ready at that point. Should be ready for paint. So, other than that, I'm going to make a road trip. Probably, maybe tomorrow. I think might be the plan. Up to North Georgia. There's a guy up there who's got a '69 that he's having trouble fitting the fenders and body panels, and he wants to bring it to me and have me work on it. But I'm going to go to him and see what's going on with it before I commit to anything else. I know that I'm almost at a stop point on the Cobra Jet, and I know I have the 68 lined up to do as a fastback. But I have to look at I'm going to go look at this car and see what's going on with it, and if I can help him out at his place, give him some pointers, maybe get him squared away some, and then go from there. Then the other thing, in that same area, another guy has a couple other 70 Mustangs that I'm going to go look at and see what their condition is. Those may be something that, if we can work something out, I don't know yet, because I don't have a place to put anything right now. I've been trying to sell Jade, loosely trying to sell Jade, not pushing it hard. And if I was able to sell that car, I could probably put one of the 70s in its place so that it was, here. But I'm going to go look at those two cars and check the status of them and see what he has in mind for those vehicles. He also has a 69 convertible and I think a 69 Grande parts car. I think is altogether what he has. So he's got 4 cars that he's looking to part ways with. You never know. You just never know. But I want to see what's going on with the 69 and, see what's going on. No, I'm not sure what you're saying, Jerry. NS, you're going 000 to Georgia. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, Jerry. Dave Tyson, Mustangs and spray guns. Yeah, there you go. Well, it's good to have this information and, share stuff that I'm happy with that I've used. There's all kinds of paint tubers, whatever, YouTubers out there, and they're showing their products and what they endorse and stuff like that. But I've been pretty happy with these. And I'm going to try this drizzle and see if it works, or for what it's supposed to do. But we'll find out. But I think we're getting close to quitting time, to be honest. I feel my voice is starting to feel a little bit rough, and that's usually a good sign for me to say it's time to go. But like I said, I'm going to go look at those cars, and who knows what I may work out with them. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, I think we're going to call it a night. So I do have another video that I can put out it won't be a Mustang video. It'll be a brake job on a Mazda 3 that I'll be putting out. Also, I may do a little video on what's in these boxes back here. This is NPD stuff that I bought for the Cobra Jet. I've got 2 boxes. There's another little box off to the side. And I may do kind of an unboxing so people can see how much it costs to buy some things sometimes. But anyway, that'll be it for tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. If I can find some more information on those mugs, who knows, maybe I can do something with them. But not, $35, most people aren't going to want to spend for a coffee mug anyway. So we'll be back next week. That'll be the 20. What is it? 22nd, 23rd? I think I'll be back. I don't see why I couldn't. I guess it's the 23rd. So 2 days before Christmas. We'll see. I plan to be here on that. If not, I'll put a notice on YouTube and say that I'm not. But otherwise, that'll be it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.